everybody, Kathy Tooley, CEO of Tools for Success. Thanks for joining us. Okay, you ready? I promised you on our last one that we would start pulling back the curtains on what's happening in our schools. I'm really wanting to bring you to a book that I wrote a few years ago called The Education System is Broken, Strategies to Rebuilding Hope, Lives, and Futures. If you're interested in the book, the link will be here on the video. But I want to talk about kind of the introduction of the book, and I call it Understanding the Play, and I use that on purpose, that is education. So I want to read something, and it says this. There has been study after study, research after research, attack after attack, and thought after thought to explain why our education system is so far behind every country's. Why are some schools failing despite all of the money, resources, and efforts that seem to be given to them? Why do teachers seem to not be teaching the necessary information that our students need to be successful? Why are our schools failing? What is happening to the educational system, and how do we fix our schools? If you turn on the news for more than 10 minutes, you've heard one of those questions asked. They'll talk about the amount of money that sometimes is being thrown to a school, the amount of resources that is being thrown at a school, and yet we are still failing. You know what I always find interesting? If a school was failing, who do you think would be the most important people that could tell you why it's failing? Think about that for a second. That's right, the educators, the people in the building, the people actually teaching the kids, the people receiving the money, having the resources, doing the lesson plans. Wouldn't they be the very people you would want to ask why education is failing? Yet I want you to tell me right now the last time anybody asked. They don't. They don't. So first of all, we don't even ask educators. And if you did ask them, they're not going to answer you. And let me tell you why. They're not going to answer you because, first and foremost, no one ever asked them. Some people would still be okay to ask you, but nobody asked them. We trash talk teachers. We trash talk what they're not teaching. We explain what they're not doing in their classrooms. We rip them across the coals for what isn't happening in their classroom. But no one sits down with a teacher and says, why do you think the education system is failing? But if you do, and you get them to talk, most of them won't say much because it's career suicide and they know it. They know it. So they just say all of the right answers like lack of funding, we need more resources, parents aren't supportive, all of the safe answers, all of the things that the media has already said are why schools are failing. So it's kind of like it's safe for me to say that because society is already saying it. They won't tell you the nitty-gritty. They won't tell you what I'm about to tell you as I pull back each and every curtain. And they won't tell you because they need a job. And to open their mouth and to say what they know is true, you aren't ready to hear it. I will never forget when I wrote this book. I had a dear friend of mine that I had hired as a teacher, and she was once a publisher at a pretty major publishing house. And I said, would you do me a favor and read over the book for me? I just wanted to, when you're writing something, you don't know if it's landing where it ought to be landing. So I said, could you do me a favor and just read it over? So she did. So we set a cup of coffee to meet after it, and she said to me, I was reading your book and I kept thinking, she can't say that. Oh, she can't say that. Oh, she's going to get in trouble for saying that. She can't say that. She can't say that. And then she said, I took a big sigh and thought, oh, but she can. She's no longer in a brick and mortar building. She started her own company. Oh my God, somebody is finally going to say what we're thinking. And I will never forget sitting across that table from her thinking, God, that's sad. That's so sad. That it took someone who has been in the trenches for 30 years like I have, who knows everything I'm getting ready to say. No educator is going to watch this video and go, what? That's happening? What they're going to do is go, oh, and she said it. She said it. And it's interesting as educators will watch this video, they'll have one of two reactions. They'll either have the reaction of, oh, wow, she went there and she said that. Or, oh, wow, she went there and she said that, depending on who their audience is. If they're at work, they'll say, do you believe she said that? I can't believe she said that. That isn't happening in our school. Then they'll go home to their family and say, do you believe she said that? I can't believe she's happening. That is so happening in our school. So I want you to know, as I've said in previous videos, and I will continue to say in many of these curtains that we're going to show, this is not an attack. This is not me airing some dirty laundry to make me feel better. This is, we can't fix what we won't talk about. And by golly, we're going to talk about it. If nothing else, my voice is going to start to talk about it. The world is going to hear what we as educators want you to know. You want to know what's wrong with our buildings? You want to know why schools are failing? You want to know why we're not successful? Watch these curtains and I'll tell you why we're not successful. And if it upsets you, then maybe it's you I'm talking about. Maybe it's you that ought to be paying attention. And to all the educators that are going to sit there watching this video, cheering, saying, someone is saying it, I have your back. I always have, and I always will. So as we wrap up this one, before we start getting into our first curtain, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell so you know when these each curtains are going to come week after week. Follow, and please, please, I'm not bashful for anything I'm saying. Invite your friends. You don't have to be an educator to value and understand what we're saying. If you have a child in school, you ought to be watching these videos because it's happening in your child's building. If you're a taxpayer, you ought to be watching these videos because this is where your dollars are going. Please follow along with me to a journey because together we can change the education system. As always, thank you for what each one of you do every single day in our schools, and thank you for making a difference for all of us. Have a fantastic day.